The human female was dying. Again. Commander Vex 9 pressed his secondary mandibles against the observation deck's reinforced glass, watching the pink-skinned creature convulse in her restraints. Blood pooled beneath her suspended form, dripping steadily onto the medical bay floor with a rhythmic plink. Plink that had become oddly hypnotic over the past 3 rotations. Fascinating, muttered Dr. Krell, adjusting his spectral analyzer for the 100th time. Her cellular regeneration rate increases by 12% each time we terminate her. It's almost as if dying makes her stronger. Vex 9's eye stalk swiveled toward the chief medical officer. Almost. Doctor, that creature has been executed 17 times in the past cycle. Shot, poisoned, electrocuted, vacuum exposed, and once memorably, fed to a Gornak beast. She keeps coming back. That's not almost anything. That's definitely making her stronger. The Gornak beast incident had been particularly embarrassing. The poor creature had choked on the human's bones and died, while she'd simply regenerated inside its stomach and punched her way out. The cleaning crew was still finding bits of Gornak in the ventilation system. "Sir," interrupted Lieutenant Zara from the communications console, her voice carrying that particular tone subordinates used when delivering news that would probably result in someone getting demoted to sanitation duty. "Warden Brutus wants to see you." Immediately. Vex 9's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Warden Brutus was a Megalorian, which meant he was roughly the size of a small moon and had the personality of a constipated volcano. When Brutus wanted to see someone immediately, it usually meant someone was about to be launched out of an airlock. "Tell him I'm conducting important research," Vex 9 said, not taking his eyes off the human. She'd stopped convulsing and was now hanging limply in her chains, apparently dead for the 18th time. "This specimen could revolutionize our understanding of biological resilience. He said to tell you that if you don't come now, he'll use your research subject for target practice." With the plasma cannon that got Vex 9's attention. The plasma cannon was Brutus's favorite toy, a weapon so ridiculously overpowered it could punch holes through small asteroids. Using it on a single prisoner was like using a supernova to light a candle. But Brutus had never been accused of subtlety. "Fine." Vex 9 sighed, his breathing slits fluttering with resignation. "Monitor the subject. If she resurrects again, record everything. And I mean everything. Last time someone missed documenting her eye color change, and now we'll never know if heterochromia is part of her mutation sequence." The walk to Brutus's office took him through the prison's main corridor, past cells containing the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. There was Plasma Pete, who could melt titanium with his bare hands. Cell Block B housed the Void Twins, telepathic siblings who could drive entire species insane with a thought. And in the maximum security wing lived Entropy Jack, whose mere presence caused matter to decay at an accelerated rate. All of them were considered less dangerous than the human female. That thought should have been comforting. Instead, it made Vex 9's stomach acid churn. Brutus's office was exactly what you'd expect from a creature who thought diplomacy was a type of explosive device. The walls were decorated with weapons from 1,000 different worlds, each one capable of ending civilizations. Behind his massive desk, Brutus himself loomed like a mountain of muscle and barely contained rage. His 4 arms currently engaged in what appeared to be stress crushing a piece of reinforced steel. "Ah, Commander," Brutus rumbled, his voice like an avalanche having an argument with a thunderstorm. "Please, sit." The chair was clearly designed for someone much smaller than Brutus but much larger than Vex 9. He perched on the edge, feeling like a child called to the principal's office. If the principal was a carnivorous giant who collected torture devices as a hobby. "I trust your research is progressing well?" Brutus asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer and wasn't particularly happy about it. "The subject continues to demonstrate remarkable resilience," Vex 9 began carefully. "Her regenerative capabilities exceed anything in our xenobiology databases. We could learn much from studying her cellular structure. Her cellular structure, Brutus repeated slowly. Commander, are you aware that this prison has a reputation to maintain? X9's mandibles twitched. Of course he knew. The Nightmare Citadel was the galaxy's most feared prison, where the worst criminals were sent to be broken. Their motto was enter in fear, leave in pieces. The gift shop sold t-shirts. Word is spreading. Brutus continued, his voice dropping to what probably passed for a whisper but sounded more like distant thunder. Prisoners are beginning to talk. They're saying we can't even properly execute one small human female. Do you understand what that does to our reputation? Sir, with respect, she's hardly a normal human female. Respect? Brutus's laugh was like a rock slide in a cathedral. Commander, 3 cycles ago, you assured me this creature would be dead within hours. It's been 17 executions. 17. My guards are starting to make bets on what method will finally work. Someone suggested dropping her into a black hole. That actually wasn't a terrible idea, Vex-9 thought, but decided not to share that observation. The prisoner designated as Luna-7 presents unique challenges, he said instead. Her regenerative abilities appear to be evolving. Each death makes her more resistant to the previous method. It's like her body is learning. Learning? Brutus leaned forward, and Vex-9 could smell his breath, which was reminiscent of rotting meat mixed with industrial solvent. Commander, I don't care if she's learning calculus. I want her dead. Permanently dead, so dead that death itself sends condolences. Yes, sir. We're exploring new approaches. New approaches, Brutus mused. Such as? Vex-9's mind raced. The truth was they were running out of ideas. Conventional weapons were useless. Toxins were metabolized and neutralized within minutes. Even exposure to hard vacuum had only kept her dead for an hour before she'd somehow regenerated functional lungs. Molecular disintegration, he said, hoping he sounded more confident than he felt. Complete atomization. Can't regenerate if there's nothing left to regenerate from. Brutus nodded slowly. Interesting. And how long until this molecular disintegrator is ready? 2, perhaps 3 rotations. You have 1 rotation, Commander. After that, I'm implementing my own solution. Vex-9 didn't ask what that solution was. With Brutus, it probably involved explosives. Lots of explosives. The return journey to the medical bay felt like a death march, which was ironic considering he was walking toward someone who couldn't stay dead. Luna-7 was awake again, hanging in her restraints with that unsettling smile she'd developed somewhere around execution number 12. Hello, Commander, she said, her voice carrying that peculiar human quality of sounding both friendly and terrifying. Back for another show? Vex-9 approached the observation window cautiously. The human's eyes were different again, shifting between blue and green like a turbulent ocean. Her wounds had healed completely, leaving not even scars behind. Your resilience is remarkable, he said, activating the comm system. How do you do it? Luna-7's smile widened. Practice. That's not an answer. Isn't it? She tilted her head, studying him with those impossible eyes. Tell me, Commander, how many species have you encountered that refused to stay dead? None. Then you're not asking the right question. Dr. Krell looked up from his instruments. Sir, her neural activity is off the charts. It's like her brain is processing information at 10 times normal human capacity. Humans, Luna-7 said, apparently hearing the conversation, are remarkably adaptable creatures. You put us in a situation where we need to evolve or die, and, well, she shrugged as much as the restraints allowed. We evolve. Evolve? Evolution doesn't work that fast, Vex-9 protested. Doesn't it? How would you know? Your species achieved spaceflight through technology. You never had to adapt or perish. You never had to look death in the face and say not today. There was something unsettling about her tone, a confidence that went beyond mere bravado. Vex-9 found himself stepping back from the window. Dr. Krell, he said quietly, Begin preparations for molecular disintegration. Hit full atomization protocols. Sir, Krell's voice was hesitant. The energy requirements for complete molecular breakdown are enormous. We'd need to tap into the station's main reactor. Do it. That will leave us running on backup power for several cycles. Life support, gravity containment fields, everything will be operating at minimal capacity. Vex 9 looked at Luna 7, who was watching him with those shifting eyes and that knowing smile. Do it, he repeated. As Krell began issuing orders to the engineering crew, Vex 9 couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. Not because the disintegration wouldn't work, but because of what Luna 7 had said. Humans were adaptable. And she'd had 17 opportunities to adapt to being dead. The molecular disintegrator would take 12 hours to charge, 12 hours during which Luna 7 hung in her chains, smiling that unsettling smile and humming what sounded like an ancient human melody. Something about amazing grace. Vex 9 spent those 12 hours reviewing everything they knew about humans. It wasn't much. The species was relatively new to galactic politics, having only achieved faster-than-light travel within the last few decades. They were considered primitive by most standards, barely above the technological level required for basic space travel. But primitive didn't mean harmless. The files contained references to something called the human survival instinct, a biological imperative so strong it had driven the species to thrive in environments that would kill most other forms of life. They'd survived ice ages, supervolcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and countless wars with nothing but determination and an apparent inability to recognize when they were beaten. There were reports of individual humans surviving things that should have been impossible, falling from incredible heights, being buried alive, lost in hostile environments for weeks without food or water. The common thread in all these cases was that the humans had simply refused to accept death as an option. Luna 7 had been refusing to accept death for 3 full cycles now. Commander, Dr. Krell's voice interrupted his research. The disintegrator is ready. Full molecular breakdown in 3 minutes. Vex 9 looked up at the observation window. Luna 7 was still hanging there, still smiling, but now her eyes were completely black, like holes in reality itself. Proceed, he said, his voice barely a whisper. The disintegrator hummed to life, building toward its catastrophic crescendo. Energy readings climbed steadily as the machine prepared to unmake Luna 7 at the most fundamental level. 2 minutes, Krell announced. Luna 7 turned her head toward the observation window, and for a moment Vex 9 could have sworn she was looking directly at him through the supposedly one-way glass. 1 minute. Yeah. Her smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed sharper than they had been before. 30 seconds. She mouthed something. It took Vex 9 a moment to realize what she was saying. Thank you. The disintegrator fired. The silence that followed was absolute. No screams. No energy discharge. No spectacular light show. Just nothing. Commander Vex 9 stared at the empty space where Luna 7 had been suspended moments before. The chains hung loose, swaying gently in the recycled air. The restraints that had held her for 3 cycles now contained only empty space and the lingering scent of ozone. Molecular cohesion reading 0, Dr. Krell reported, his voice filled with something that might have been relief. Complete atomic dispersal confirmed. Not a single particle remaining above quantum level. Vex 9 should have felt triumphant. Instead, he felt like he'd just made the worst mistake of his very long life. Sir. Lieutenant Zara's voice crackled through the comm system. Warden Brutus is requesting confirmation of termination. Tell him. Vex 9 paused. His eye stalks focused on those empty chains. Tell him the problem has been resolved. But even as he said it, something felt wrong. The air in the medical bay seemed thicker somehow, charged with an energy that made his carapace itch. The lights flickered once, twice, then stabilized. Probably just power fluctuations from the disintegrator, Krell muttered. But he didn't sound convinced either. 12 hours passed. Then 24, then 48. Luna 7 did not regenerate. The prison began to return to its normal rhythm of despair and casual violence. Guards stopped making bets. Prisoners stopped whispering about the unkillable human. Warden Brutus even cracked what passed for a smile, which was terrifying enough to send 3 inmates into immediate psychiatric care. Vex 9 tried to convince himself that everything was fine, the human was gone. Atomized. Scattered across the quantum foam, dead in the most permanent way possible. So why couldn't he sleep? It started with small things. Equipment malfunctions in the medical bay, computers glitching. Temperature fluctuations. The kind of minor technical problems that plagued any space station, but somehow more frequent than usual. Then the accidents began. Guard Captain Thorne was the first. A 20-year veteran, tough as reinforced armor plating, found dead in his quarters. No wounds, no signs of struggle. Just dead. The medical examiner ruled it cardiac arrest, which was unusual for a Corellian whose species had redundant circulatory systems. Stress, Dr. Krell explained when Vex 9 asked. The past few cycles have been hard on everyone. Next was Engineer Voss, discovered floating in the reactor coolant chamber. Accident, they said. Slipped and fell. Never mind that Voss had been working with hazardous materials for decades without incident. Then Communications Officer Dex, found in the supply bay with a broken neck. Another accident. Another impossibly careless mistake by someone who'd never been careless before. We're having a run of bad luck. Brutus growled when Vex 9 brought his concerns to the warden's office. It happens. Space is dangerous. But Vex 9 had noticed something the others hadn't. All 3 dead guards had been present during Luna 7's executions. All 3 had watched her die, over and over again. Sir, he said carefully, I think we should consider the possibility that… That what? The dead human is killing my guards from beyond the grave? Brutus's laugh was like rocks in a blender. Commander, you've been working too hard. Take some leave. Visit your spawning grounds. Get some perspective. But Vex 9 couldn't shake the feeling that perspective was exactly what he needed to lose. The pattern continued. Another guard dead, then another. Always the ones who'd been involved in Luna 7's imprisonment, always ruled accidental, despite the increasingly implausible circumstances. Guard Sergeant Crix, found crushed beneath a maintenance lifter that had mysteriously activated while he was performing routine inspection. Security footage showed him alone in the bay, but the lifter required 2 operators to function. Dr. Hess, the xenobiology specialist who'd taken tissue samples from Luna 7, discovered in his laboratory with every bone in his body somehow liquefied. The official report blamed experimental chemical exposure, but Vex 9 had checked the lab's inventory. Nothing was missing. Messin, the deaths weren't random. They were systematic, methodical. Someone or something was working through a list. Vex 9's name was definitely on that list. Sleep became impossible. Every shadow seemed to move. Every creak of the station's superstructure sounded like footsteps. He'd requested a transfer to another facility, but Brutus had denied it. Personnel shortage, he'd said. Too many accidents lately. It was during his 3rd consecutive sleepless night that Vex 9 finally understood what was happening. He was reviewing security footage from the disintegrator chamber, analyzing the moment of Luna 7's supposed death frame by frame, when he saw it. Just before the energy beam fired, just for a single instant, the molecular scanner had detected something impossible. Luna 7's atomic structure had begun changing, not breaking down, not dispersing. Changing. Computer, he whispered, his voice hoarse from fear and exhaustion. Analyze quantum signature variants in disintegrator chamber at time index 7774. The results made his blood freeze. The disintegrator hadn't destroyed Luna 7, it had transformed her. Humans, she'd said, were adaptable. Put them in a situation where they needed to evolve or die, and they evolved. She'd been evolving with each death, learning, adapting, becoming something more than human. And the disintegrator, instead of ending that process, had completed it. Luna 7 was no longer bound by physical form. She was everywhere. In the station's systems, in the air recyclers, in the quantum field generators. She'd become part of the station itself, a ghost in the machine with very specific targets and all the time in the universe to hunt them down. Vex 9's hands shook as he activated the emergency communication system. Warden Brutus, this is Commander Vex 9. We have a situation. The human prisoner isn't dead. She's... The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in hellish red light. Somewhere in the darkness, Vex 9 heard laughter. Soft, feminine, and absolutely terrifying. "Hello, Commander," Luna 7's voice whispered from the speakers. "Did you miss me?" The blast doors slammed shut. Environmental controls shut down. Gravity generators fluctuated, sending Vex 9 floating toward the ceiling before slamming him back down. "You know," her voice continued, now coming from everywhere and nowhere, "I really should thank you. All those deaths, all that pain, all that evolution, you helped me become something beautiful." "What do you want?" Vex 9 gasped, struggling to his feet. "Justice," she said simply. "For every time you killed me, for every time you watched me suffer, for every time you treated me like a specimen instead of a person." The temperature began to rise. Vex 9's carapace started to smoke. "The others died quickly," Luna 7 continued. "I was feeling merciful. But you, Commander, you're special. You're the one who ordered my deaths. You're the one who watched. You're the one who smiled." "I never smiled." "Didn't you? Inside? Just a little? When I screamed the first few times?" Vex 9 wanted to deny it, but the truth was like acid in his throat. He had been curious, fascinated. He'd watched her die again and again, not with sadism but with scientific interest, that which was somehow worse. "Please," he whispered. "I was just following orders." "Oh, Commander," Luna 7's laugh was like wind chimes made of broken glass. "That's what they all say." The temperature continued to climb. Vex 9's breathing apparatus began to fail. His vision blurred. This was it. After all his years of studying death, he was finally going to experience it firsthand. But then something unexpected happened. The temperature stopped rising. The lights stabilized. The blast doors opened with a pneumatic hiss. "Pising Mia. You're not going to kill me?" Vex 9 asked, not sure if he was relieved or disappointed. "Kill you?" Luna 7's voice was soft now, almost gentle. "Oh, Commander. Death is such a limited concept. I've moved beyond such crude solutions." The station shuddered. Alarms began blaring. Through the observation windows, Vex 9 could see other ships in the distance, their running lights bright against the stars. "The Galactic Peacekeepers," Luna 7 explained. "I've been broadcasting everything, every execution, every death, every war crime committed in this place. They're very interested in having a conversation with Warden Brutus." The implications hit Vex 9 like a meteor strike. The Nightmare Citadel operated outside normal jurisdictions, but if evidence of systematic torture and murder were presented to the peacekeepers, the prison will be shut down, he said. "Oh, it gets better." Luna 7's voice carried a note of satisfaction. "I've also been analyzing your computer systems, financial records, personnel files, communications logs. Did you know that 73% of the prisoners here were convicted on fabricated evidence? That's going to be very embarrassing for the tribunal." The station shuddered again. Docking clamps engaged. The peacekeepers were boarding. "What happens to me?" Vex 9 asked. "You get to live," Luna 7 said. "You get to face trial. You get to explain to the families of every prisoner who died here why their loved ones were tortured for your amusement." Through the corridors, Vex 9 could hear the sound of running feet, shouted orders, weapons being powered up. The peacekeepers were efficient, but they were also thorough. Everyone involved in the prison's operation would be questioned, investigated, tried. And Brutus? Warden Brutus is having a very bad day, Luna 7 said, and there was something in her voice that made Vex 9's blood run cold. He's discovering that plasma cannons are remarkably unreliable when their targeting systems are compromised. An explosion echoed through the station. Then another. Then silence. Terrible accident. Luna 7 continued. The warden was cleaning his favorite weapon when it malfunctioned. Such a shame. These things happen when you don't perform proper maintenance. The blast doors opened, and peacekeeper soldiers poured into the medical bay. Vex 9 raised his hands, surrendering without resistance. There was no point in fighting. Luna 7 had already won. As they led him away in restraints, Vex 9 caught a glimpse of the empty chains where Luna 7 had hung for 3 cycles. For just a moment he could have sworn he saw her there, smiling that terrible smile. But when he looked again, there was nothing. Nothing except the whisper of her voice, carried on the recycled air. Humans are remarkably adaptable creatures, Commander. We evolve. We survive. We remember. And we never, ever forgive. The Nightmare Citadel became a footnote in galactic history, a cautionary tale about the dangers of treating sentient beings as experimental subjects. The trials that followed exposed corruption throughout the prison system, leading to reforms that protected the rights of all species. Commander Vex 9 spent the rest of his life in a minimum security facility, writing research papers about human adaptability and the ethical treatment of prisoners. He never discovered what had happened to Luna 7 after the disintegrator fired. The Peacekeepers' investigation found no trace of her, living or dead. But sometimes, late at night, prisoners in facilities across the galaxy would report hearing laughter in the ventilation systems. Soft, feminine, and absolutely terrifying. Humans, they learned, were remarkably adaptable creatures, and some adaptations were permanent.